Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Jim, and I thought I would do a video about how I kind of came to the conclusion of buying my GR Corolla. So, unlike I think a lot of people, I actually drove a lot of the cars that were kind of what we kind of think of as competing with this. And so I just thought I would kind of go through the process of what I was thinking. Every one of us is different. We all like different things and appreciate and weight different factors differently. But I thought I would just run through why I liked this and why I wanted this, and ultimately why I ended up buying this over the other cars I was looking at. So I also spent time with a Civic Type R, an Elantra N, a Golf R, and a WRX. So those 5 cars are what I was kind of looking at. The Golf R, the WRX, and the GR Corolla, I did like the fact that those were all-wheel drive versus just front-wheel drive. I live in the Pacific Northwest. We do get 4 different seasons, and I wanted to be able to use this car and even travel and do some road trips in the winter without having to worry about weather and traction and everything. And so I felt if I could get an all-wheel drive in the winter with winter tires, that was going to be a big plus. But I wasn't going to base that decision solely on just that one parameter, although that was a big one. So I'm coming up on having my GR Corolla for almost a year now, so that's why I thought that I would kind of run through some of the different things that I was looking at and how I rated them and ranked them and why ultimately I came to this conclusion. Let me preface this in saying is that I don't really think there was a bad car in the group. I think every one of the cars is ultimately a good car, and each one's going to make a lot of people and a lot of owners very happy and very satisfied long term. So coming down to what I liked. So let's kind of start with the engines. All of these produce decent horsepower. As far as the numbers go, the WRX and the Elantra N were on the lower side, and the Golf R and the Civic Type R were on the higher side, and in between there was the GR Corolla. Now, all of these to me put out enough power to have a completely engaging drive and a lot of fun with it. I drove manual transmissions on all of these. Some cars like the Civic Type R and the GR Corolla are only available with a manual, and a manual is what I wanted anyway. So I did not drive the WRX CVT, which I wouldn't want anyway. I did not drive the Golf R with this DCT or the Elantra N. So stuck to manual transmissions, keeping everything on a comparison level. So as far as the transmissions, the clutch, the shifter engagement, and just what it felt like driving them, the Civic Type R was the smoothest. Excellent transmission. I had no problems with the clutch. Super smooth shifts. And I know you've heard that from a lot of people. A lot of people love it. Honda makes some very good manual transmissions. The GR Corolla, to me, was also excellent. It had a little more feel to it, so I could, where the Civic Type R was more, I guess we could say buttery or smooth or whatever, the GR Corolla had a little more feel to it. I could feel the I almost call it notchiness, but that might leave a bad impression, but I could feel it as it engaged in and out of the gears. And I personally like that. It didn't bother me at all. And I ranked the Corolla's transmission and clutch engagement shifting second as far as what I liked. The WRX I did not care for. It just didn't feel tight. The Civic Type R and GR Corolla there was no play in the shifter or anything. The WRX was kind of loosey-goosey a little bit. Same with the Elantra N, and the Golf R I rated just a little bit above them, but not a huge. This was really between the Civic Type R and the GR Corolla, and this was important to me because this is driving a manual transmission. I'm going to be doing a lot of shifting, and I wanted to enjoy that experience. So that was kind of how I felt about that area. As far as, let's talk about interior design. This, of course, is completely up to what each individual likes. As far as solely the interior design of like the dash area, what you're looking at all the time from the driver's seat. I did like the Elantra N design the most. I liked how it kind of separated the driver from the passenger with the piece off to the right. That I liked. Some people I've heard don't like that, but I did like that. That was nice to me. So the GR Corolla to me was my next favorite. The biggest thing that I didn't like about the GR Corolla is really more the touchscreen. I don't like how it looks kind of like an afterthought. I have gotten used to it, I will say. It doesn't bother me as much as it did before, but I love the dash, the digital dash on the GR Corolla. I liked how it looked and you could choose different things. I like the feel of the steering wheel. The seats in the GR Corolla to me were by far the most comfortable, which is again, a pretty big factor. But I don't have the feeling, and I don't get the impression of the GR Corolla as being a cheap Econo box interior. Yes, it's based on a regular Corolla. All these cars are based on, the cheaper siblings that they come from. But I didn't feel like it was super cheap. And I think the reason is because everything I'm touching, the leather steering wheel and the leather shift knob, this actually has a handbrake, which might sound silly, but I like a regular handbrake. I absolutely despise the electric e-brakes that are showing up on cars now. And so any car with an electric e-brake is a big negative to me. And that was a big negative on the Civic Type R. I just, did not like that. So, but everything I touch is leather. The things like the Civic Type R, in the driving experience, the Civic Type R is great. Not going to be as good when you get into inclement weather, where it's just front wheel drive, but the driving experience is good. But with the GR Corolla, I have a heated steering wheel. I have heated seats. Those things are important to me. I give more weight to things like that and having an actual handbrake than I do about having red seats or red carpet in the Civic Type R. And actually, to me, that's just detraction. I personally like dark interiors. I like black interiors. I like dark gray interiors. Those are more favorable to me, and it kind of makes the interior kind of more of a mystery. It kind of darkens it up and nothing is popping to me, and I like that. I want to be thinking about looking out the windshield. I don't care what color, if it's red or or whatnot. Now, some people love that. I talk to people all the time that just think the red interior on the Civic Type R is the holy grail. Hey, that's great if that's what you like. Me, I could take it or leave it. So, and I don't care about Alcantara or leather. I'm kind of old school in that sense that I actually prefer cloth seats, and that's true in all my cars. I own 7 vehicles, and every one of them has cloth seats. And so I don't have to fight with myself on trying to get leather in a certain vehicle or upgrading them or the Alcantara on other cars. I will say that I've seen a lot of Civic Type Rs that weren't very old, several years old, and the interior just looked terrible, haggard. I also have talked with a lot of GR86 owners, and a lot of them said that they would prefer the cloth seats too. Even though they have the Alcantara, they would prefer the cloth, as the Alcantara is kind of a pain in the rear to take care of. While I liked on the Elantra, while I liked everything I was looking at, the dash and all that, the seat comfort, at least for me, the seat comfort on the Elantra N was by far the worst. After 5-10 minutes, I couldn't wait to get out of them. I was actually sore and hurting sitting in those seats. And the first time I thought, gosh, was it me? Did I not have them adjusted right or whatever? So I actually drove one again, and I also sat in one in an auto show, and no, every time it was the same result. So that was easy. If I'm not comfortable in the seat, I'm not gonna get that car. So the Elantra N quickly fell to the bottom. The WRX, the seats I guess were okay. Nothing stood out about them. But one thing I hated about that car was the big 11-inch screen, and so many things have to be run through it. And I like individual buttons to control my HVAC and stuff like that. So that was another plus on the GR Corolla, is the AC and the heater and all that stuff. I had easy, quick buttons to do. I didn't have to go into the touchscreen and find things and take my eyes off the road. I'll touch on the interior of the Golf R, and while the layout and everything was great on the Golf R, that had one huge problem, and that's all the buttons on the steering wheel that you barely have to brush over to activate them. So just driving around, when I was test driving it, it was driving me nuts. I kind of thought, and I even told the guy that was with me from the dealership, how could this get past anybody in the production process that this was a good idea? These things are terrible. So, and I've seen and read that in car reviews and magazines and online, that everybody has mentioned how terrible that design was. So we'll just leave it at that. So exterior wise, again, something where a lot of people have their own opinions and what they prefer. The GR Corolla to me was the best looking car from the outside. I also like the size of it. Cars to me over the years have gotten so big. They keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the GR Corolla is truly a hot hatch, which I like. The Elantra N is not a hot hatch. The WRX is a sedan. The Civic Type R is a liftback or a fastback, whatever you want to call it, but it's not a hot hatch. And the Elantra N and the Civic Type R felt huge. I mean, they felt so much bigger to me. And this is not a car that I'm trying to do everything with. This is a fun car to me. I'm going to be in it. I'm not going to be hauling kids or something like that. I might have somebody else in the front seat with me occasionally. Let's talk brakes. Braking power is obviously important. I don't think that again, any of these were absolutely horrible, and on a street-driven car, I think they will all be fine. I'm not a big track hound. I like having fun in the back roads, the mountain roads, things like that. I've tracked before, but I get bored with it if I'm doing the same track all the time. And there's nothing really great around where I am. There's one a few hours away that's really fun, but it's extraordinarily expensive to do, and it just seems like a waste of money from that standpoint. So as far as street driven and driving the back roads and all that, I think the brakes will be okay on most of these. But the two standouts were definitely the Civic Type R and the GR Corolla. Those two had by far the best brakes out of all of them, and were a step above. So if you are going to track the car, then you're probably much better with one of those two cars. So again, maybe not quite as critical for some people, but that's how I felt. The other three, I think, were pretty close together. The WRX, the Golf R, and the Elantra N. So we'll leave that at that. The final thing that I'm going to talk about, and which for myself is one of the most important things, is how fun is it to drive? This is why I'm buying this car. I don't need this car to get from A to B. I have other cars that can do that. I don't need this car to commute to work. I have a work truck that I do that. So none of my cars I use for commuting. This is strictly for fun. This is, after all these decades of working, I want a fun car that I can go give a rip and have fun for road trips and take it around the country and experience life with. So what was the most fun? Hands down, I went with my initial reaction. So when I got done driving these, how did I feel? What did I feel emotionally? What did it do for me? And hands down, the GR Corolla was the most exciting to me. I got done driving the GR Corolla and I was like, wow, that is so fun. It was such an experience. It put the power down with the all-wheel drive. I could just feel the adrenaline and the thrills with it. Some people say it's not fast enough. I don't know what they're used to driving. They think it's for 40,000, 45,000. You think you're going to get a supercar? 0 to 60 in 5 seconds is plenty quick for the street. And if you want more, it doesn't take much more to go faster. You can add power. There's a lot of people getting 350 wheel horsepower with a downpipe and a tune. So, it's pretty quick and easy to do something if you want to take it to the next level. But from a stock standpoint, it's fantastic. The Civic Type R has more power, but off the line, 0 to 60, if you care about that, the GR Corolla is quicker because it puts the power down to the ground. Now, the extra power of the Civic Type R will make it faster, but how fast do you need to go on public roads? And again, even if you're tracking it, when I've tracked things, I do it for fun. I'm not making a living off of that. And I'm not going to notice a difference between a lap of 1 minute and 15 seconds and 1 minute and 14 seconds. You blink your eyes and that's that different. Yes, it's important if you're racing and that's your livelihood, but just for fun, no. People get too caught up, in my opinion, with some of that. So the GR Corolla was definitely the most fun to do. I didn't like the Civic Type R in the sense, I like the Civic Type R, but I didn't like the sense of when it was always hunting for traction with just the front wheels. So once you were up and rolling, you're doing 20, 25 in second gear and you mash the throttle, yeah, you're fine there. It can lock up and get the traction and go from there. So, but the Volkswagen, the Golf R, it was also good in that way with the all-wheel drive. It could put that power down. And I think if somebody wants one car to do everything, that's the only car they're going to have, and maybe they need a little more space, they have kids, they want a little more touch of luxury, okay, I can see that being a good choice. Or maybe they don't know how to drive a stick and they want an automatic version. Okay, that's got that available. So, you know, there are reasons for choosing other cars, but for me, a manual was a must-have. And the all-wheel drive was pretty high on my list. So I didn't really... I weighted these factors, and the weight of those is more important. And I will say this. If it came down to the Civic Type R and the GR Corolla, which I think are the two best cars out of the 5 I did test drive, I don't care about paying, or I don't care to pay more for flash. For the Civic Type R, I felt like I was paying for a little bit nicer interior and stuff like that. For the GR Corolla, I was paying for all-wheel drive, and that to me is a performance feature. Getting a real handbrake was important. Getting heated seats and a heated steering wheel, that was important. The Civic Type R didn't give me any of those options. So what am I paying more for a Civic Type R? You know, I'm paying more for horsepower. I'm paying that it's slightly quicker around the track, or it looks prettier on the inside to some people. I'm more about substance than I am just the fluff. And that's why the GR Corolla to me was such a great option. It was just fun. Anyway, that is kind of some of the thought pattern that I had in why I bought a GR Corolla. That's what it came down to. The bottom line is when I got done with the car, driving the car, I loved it the most. My initial reaction, my gut reaction was, wow, I want one of these. And I didn't feel that way with the WRX. I didn't feel that way with the Elantra N. And the Elantra N on the exterior styling too, yeah, the WRX and the Elantra N just left a lot to be desired in my opinion. The Golf R, I think, looks okay. It's clean, but again, a little plain. There's nothing extra over the GTI. And I don't mind the design on the new Civic Type R from the exterior. My only complaint is it's too big, and I don't like the rear spoiler. The rear spoiler looks aftermarket to me. It was tacked on. So some people like it. That's just my personal opinion. I just don't. So anyway, with that being said, guys, if you have any questions or comments or anything, you know, hey, please reach out. I do try to respond and answer anything that people have to say, and I would love to hear what you think. What did you buy, or did you buy, or are you looking for something right now, and what are you leaning toward and why? I understand, this car is not for everybody, and not a single one is, and that's why they make a lot of cars, which is good for us as enthusiasts. So anyway, until next time, guys, we'll see you down the road.